Hey everyone, this is Crystal. Today I'm going to be talking about my trip to Asia and traveling during COVID. Flew to Taiwan in early March so that I could visit my family. I haven't seen them in over a year, which is a really long time. So this video is going to be talking all about making my travel plans, traveling to Taiwan, the flight itself, landing in Taiwan, and what that whole experience was like. Currently, there are some pretty strict travel restrictions in Taiwan if you're planning a visit. They're actually not allowing any foreigners into the country at all unless you have a special approved visa by the government. So it is rather restricted in terms of what you're allowed to apply for a visa. Luckily, I do have dual citizenship. I have a Taiwan passport as well as a US passport. Because I am a Taiwanese citizen, I was able to enter into the country, except I actually let my Taiwan passport expire for over 5 years, which shame on me, shouldn't have happened, but I was able to get that sorted out before my trip, and it all worked out in the end. You do also have to fill out 2 forms. First is the quarantine entry form, which states all of your personal and travel information, including your approved quarantine accommodations. Every person who flies into Taiwan is required to quarantine for 14 days. I will be making a whole other video about my quarantine experience, so leave a question in the comments below if you are interested in finding out more. You are also required to fill out a health declaration form, which you need to fill out 24 hours before your scheduled landing time. So it's actually recommended to fill that out the morning of your flight. Similar to the US, they do require a negative PCR test done 3 business days prior to your flight. I purchased a premium economy ticket with EVA Airways. The cost was $2,450. I did also work with my travel agent to purchase some points from one of her other clients so that I could upgrade my seat to business class, which ended up being much cheaper than actually paying for business class directly. First, I was traveling on short notice, so I wanted to be comfortable, and business class is comfortable. I wanted to be more COVID safe and with less people around you. It did feel like it was a bit safer than I would have felt otherwise. I ended up packing quite a bit of clothes. I knew that I was going to be in Taiwan for at least 6 weeks. I was going in the beginning of March, which meant that potentially the seasons would be changing while I was in Taiwan, which meant I had to have clothes for like a rainy day and also clothes for a really hot and humid day. So did have to have a wide range of pieces to choose from. I also knew that I was going to be in quarantine for the first 2 weeks of my stay at a hotel. So I wanted to make sure that I had enough clothes to at least get through the first 2 weeks without having to do any laundry. I also brought a yoga mat. I knew that I wanted to work out while in quarantine. When I got to LAX, I checked in and that's where they took my temperature, and they also made sure that I filled out all of my forms that I needed to fill out and that I also had my negative COVID test. Once I actually got through security, the terminal was super empty. I have never seen LAX like that before, just a complete ghost town. There's always a ton of people there, especially when I travel during the holidays. So it was just really strange to see. The lounges also weren't open, which I was kind of bummed about, but EVA Air did give me a $25 voucher to use at one of 3 places. I had just eaten dinner, so I decided to go to Hudson News and pick up a few things, some snacks, some personal items, but when I went to go check out, $25 voucher actually only covers food and drinks, but did not cover the face wipes that I was trying to buy, so I did have to pay out of pocket for them, which was kind of annoying, to be honest, considering how much money I had just spent on buying a business class ticket. Seems like not exactly a fair trade. Once I got my stuff at Hudson News, I posted up in a corner. There was literally no one around me, which was great. Once I boarded, the flight attendants handed out some amenity packets to all of the passengers. packet included some hand sanitizer, some alcohol wipes, and a mask. Once we were in the air, they also handed out some toiletry bags that they made in partnership with Salvatore Ferragamo. Inside there were some more toiletry items like a toothbrush and toothpaste, some earplugs, and some other personal toiletries. They also partnered up with Jason Wu to make these pajama sets. I can imagine if you're wearing like jeans or something that it would be really nice to change into. They also gave us some in-flight slippers, which is always nice. An hour or two into the flight, they served our first meal. I waited for most of the people to be done eating before I decided to take my mask off and start eating my meal, just because then at least most people had their masks back on before I took mine off. This made me feel a little safer because this is actually the first time that I was taking my mask off indoors in a public space since before the pandemic, which was, you know, a very strange and bizarre feeling. Dinner included a bread roll, some cold cuts, and a foie gras appetizer, a chicken and rice plate served with some apple juice. For dessert, we were served a cheese and cracker plate, some fruit, and some chocolate cake. After dinner, I asked the flight attendant to make my bed, which essentially was a sheet covering the seat. From there, I could recline my seat to lay all the way flat, which was great. I popped a melatonin and slept for pretty much 8 hours, which was amazing. I have never slept so well on a flight before. One of my favorite things to do on international flights is to check out the movie catalog on the flight because it's a great way to kill time on a long flight. That was what I ended up killing the last 3 hours of my flight with, was just watching Tenet and then eating breakfast. Kind of a weird choice of breakfast entrees if you ask me. It was between an omelet and chicken and pasta. If you've ever had eggs on a plane before, it's just not good. They microwave it and it's just like hard and like dry and like not tasty at all. So I did end up with the chicken and pasta, but it was pretty good. They served it with a roll, some strawberry jelly, yogurt, and some fruit. Once we landed in Taipei, we were able to disembark pretty quickly, and from there we were herded towards this area before we get to immigration, where there were security guards checking your quarantine entry forms and making sure you were linking that to a Taiwan phone number. And if you didn't have a Taiwan phone number or a SIM card like me, there was a whole station set up just for travelers to buy and install a new SIM card from Taiwan. I was able to do this in less than 5 minutes. They were able to like pop the SIM card in pretty quickly, and I was on my way to go check in with the security guard. From there would match your phone number to your quarantine entry form, and that is how they do contact tracing during your quarantine. Once I got through immigration, I was able to go get my luggage, and I noticed that my luggage was all wet, but they had actually disinfected all of my suitcases. Once I got my luggage, I was basically free, kind of. There are two ways for you to leave the airport. You can either leave by personal car service, and you can take a government-approved quarantine taxi. I ended up in a 20 to 30 minute wait to get on a quarantine taxi. While I was in line, they did make me fill out another form which tracked personal and travel information and also your quarantine accommodations, so that they knew exactly where that taxi driver was taking you. They sprayed my luggage down again with disinfectant and sprayed me down with disinfectant, and then I was able to hop into the cab and I was on my way. The fare is a set price depending on what area of Taiwan that you're going to. To get to Taipei, it's a flat fare of 1,000 NT, which is about $30 US. There was actually this whole like plastic tarp thing separating the driver's seat from like the back seat. When I paid the taxi driver with cash, there was a little flap where you could put the money through, and he actually took the bill and sprayed it down with more disinfectant. But I was like, yes, that's exactly how you should be treating me. Like, who knows what kind of germs I'm bringing. After about an hour drive later, I arrived at my quarantine hotel. Even though this seemed like it could have potentially been a very stressful process, for the most part, I wasn't really that stressed, even though I have been very COVID safe for the last year. Reminder, this was happening in early March before the vaccine was widely rolled out. It is a 14-hour flight, by the way, from LA to Taipei. And because it's such a long flight, I did feel like, okay, should I eat or should I wash my face, do all the things that I normally do? I did some of the things and I didn't do some of the things because of how I felt about getting on the plane in the first place and traveling during a pandemic. But thanks to a few of my friends who did give me some advice about their own travel to Taiwan, that was really helpful. I did also feel a lot safer once I got onto the plane, just because I knew that getting on the flight alone, there had been so many precautions that every passenger has had to take before they could even board the flight. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that this was helpful, especially if you're looking to travel internationally during COVID, or as we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel. Stay tuned for my next video, which is going to be all about my quarantine experience, my quarantine hotel, and how I picked it. So if you like this video, make sure you click the thumbs up button, comment below if you have any questions, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Bye.